Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Avenue A, where we talk acting, we talk networking, and we talk the industry. I'm your host, Kelsey Benz, and thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who have never tuned into the show before, welcome. Avenue A is a platform that I created coming out of art school into the pandemic as a way to stay connected with my fellow artists and create a resource, an accessible resource, and a free resource to other young artists who are making their way into the arts industries during this current moment, which is a little bit crazy and off-center for a lot of us. So that's the premise of the show. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Happy Friday. I hope you all had a great week. It was definitely long for me, but good. I'm glad to always end my week with this show. It's such a highlight for me and such an amazing way to top off the work week, I guess. So all that said, welcome. Thank you for being here. We have an amazing guest tonight. I'm super excited for my chat with her. So the guest tonight is Samantha Tullie. So originally from San Diego, California, Samantha has been based in New York City since 2016 when she began her undergraduate training at NYU. During her time at NYU, Samantha performed in many productions throughout NYU, as well as in professional summer stock companies, and she appeared in Tisch undergrad films. She was also a member of the Tisch a cappella group, the Enharmonics, and competed during their 2019 ICCA win. With the Enharmonics, Sam performed at Carnegie Hall and at New York Comic Con, and in an a cappella tribute to NBC comedy shows. Sam is proud to have graduated this past year from NYU Tisch School of the Arts with a BFA in drama from the new studio on Broadway, and she's looking forward to using her experience to begin the next stage of her career. So without further ado, let's welcome on Sam to the show. Hello, Miss Sam.
Hello. Hi, Miss Kelsey.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's such a pleasure to see your beautiful face.
Yeah, this is such a great way for us to just see each other. It's been so long.
It has been a long time. For those people watching, Sam and I guess we officially met during Promenade. Is that right? We did.
Yeah, so senior year of college.
Senior year, almost exactly a year ago, Sam and I were in a musical together at Tisch called Promenade, and we just struck a friendship, and I'm so glad that we did, because here we are today.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, Kels.
Thank you for being here. So let's just start off. Tell us a little bit about your own journey as a performer, and can you also share with us 3 main things that you've learned over the years that you take with you into artistic projects?
Yeah, of course. So like you said, I grew up in San Diego, and I just kind of grew up doing youth theater. I don't come from a directly musical family, but I grew up watching a ton of Turner Classic movies. One of my first movies was Funny Girl. Of course, I'm definitely that kind of kid. So I did youth theater growing up. My first professional gig was working at Legoland as a performer, which people somehow always dig up old videos of me talking like this. So maybe if you're one of the lucky few, you'll be able to find it. I'll never tell. But I did do that, and then I ended up at NYU, which was genuinely one of my dream schools. Never thought that I'd be able to end up there. I've always wanted to move to the city. And so while I was at NYU, I was in an a cappella group, which is very funny to me just because I never really expected to end up doing that. I wasn't a huge a cappella person necessarily growing up, but I really definitely like found my community there, and I've gotten to do so many incredible things through that. So I don't know if you're a prospective NYU student, check out the Enharmonics. A cappella is really genuinely a very cool thing, and I made so many like friends and connections through it, like just a bunch of different artists who are outside of the theater community who obviously, you know, like a lot of them have that background, but I met a lot of friends, really, really close friends who are like into recorded music or like, you know, doing a biochem major, like really, really awesome stuff. I've done a lot of summer stock as well. I was 2 summers ago doing summer stock at the Woodstock Playhouse, which is in Woodstock, New York, which was super awesome. Yeah, and now I'm just, you know, one of the many pandemic grats of us trying to make
Pandemic
our way in the world. Yes.
that's a great way
Our
to
little
put it.
niche. Yeah.
Yes.
And then some things that I carry with me, I guess I'll start off with something that I kind of have been taking as like life advice. I really feel like I've always, and especially recently, have really been comparing myself to other people, which I know so many artists really tend to do.
Yeah.
My motto recently has just kind of been like to not think that other people are doing things like better than you, so to speak. I've really been dealing with that a lot and struggling with that thought, just thinking like no matter what it may be, that person is doing it better. Like that person has the better survival job. That person has an agent that I really want. That person did some online show that I feel like I should have done for whatever reason. I just feel like right now we just really all need to be like focusing on ourselves. And although I know some people are really fueled by goal related things, I think that it can be like a little bit of a detriment and a setback right now. Like really setting goals for ourselves, because we really are just like in the twilight zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think comparison right now is just the key to like really losing yourself. And I think that the best way to like think about everything is what I'm doing right now, whatever it may be, is correct. It just is, no matter what it is. And every time you start like to have that little thought in the back of your mind, like, oh, it's not, like that's where I feel like I go off the rails a little bit. But yeah, that's something that I've been trying to really work on. And I think it really applies to artistic endeavors too. Like, don't compare yourself to your castmates, or everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different background. Everyone genuinely does have a different path, as, you know, contrived as it sounds, and how many times we hear it as theater artists from our peers. I really do genuinely think it's true.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to touch on what
Mhm.
you were mentioning about this current moment, I think it's so easy to fall into that trap, I guess, of comparing ourselves to other people, specifically when
Yeah.
we're online, right? Like we're seeing
Right.
people's posts, we're on social media a lot, we're sort of
Yeah.
saturated with the, I guess, most positive like version of other people's lives, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's all we're
Right.
doing right now in this virtual space.
Yeah.
So I think it can be really
Yeah.
easy to fall into that, like, oh my gosh, we're seeing only what the people are presenting on social media, and it all looks so great, maybe, or it looks better than what
Exactly.
we think we're experiencing. And it's so
Yeah.
easy to fall into that.
Right. And it's like the truth of the matter is that like everybody's struggling right now, no matter what your background is, or, you know, what you studied in college. Like it's all relative. And, you know, we're all kind of going through a rough patch, and there's no right way to go about doing anything in life. And I think that that's especially important to remind ourselves right now, because like as you were saying, we are just like so saturated in media, and like so hypersensitive to it, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I truly I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to mention. I think it can be difficult because the virtual space is really our only medium of connection right now, to
Exactly.
sort
Yeah.
of discount those like checking ourselves, right? I know for me it was a lot
Right.
easier before the pandemic to be like, okay, you know what? Like you can put your phone away. It's fine. Like you're on your own path. Like you're doing these
Right.
things with school or work or what have you. But now it's like that's our only way to connect. So we're not,
Right. Right.
right? We're like so into
Yeah.
it, and it can,
Right. It's like, yeah, it's like your only way to like somehow connect.
yeah,
Because it's just a lonely time right now. Feel like I've been talking to a lot of people, and it's like it's just lonely in general, you know.
it
Because
is.
our like, yeah, our medium right now to be able to connect with people in a safe way and not have to worry about even getting sick or harming other people, harming your family members, is literally online. So when you feel overwhelmed with it and you click off, then it's just like, well, now what? That was like my only way. And
Exactly.
now I'm just kind of like at a loss, you know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, transitioning a little bit, a big part of this show that I focus on is the concept of networking, and how
Right.
networking affects our careers as artists. So,
Mhm.
I'm wondering, first of all, what does networking mean to you? And
Mhm.
And can you tell me a little bit about maybe how your perspective of networking has shifted specifically during the pandemic? Because I know that our communication mode, like we were just talking about, is a little different. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. So I think going into school, like as you know, a little 18-year-old high school grad, I always kind of thought of networking as, oh, I'm gonna get to New York and somehow I'm going to be connected to Telsey. I just will. I'm gonna be networking and I'm gonna meet with the big wigs. But I really think that once you really like become saturated in your like art school environment, like networking is like literally anything. Like friends that I've met through acapella, friends that I've met through shows, friends that I've met through other friends, like have gotten me really cool opportunities and like vice versa. And I've gotten to collaborate with such incredible and amazing people who are like the same age as me. You know what I mean? I think that networking doesn't have to mean at all like, oh, I'm only meeting with like this big wig person and that's networking. Like networking is just making connections with other artists and other people. And I think so. I think that mindset really shifted for me a lot. Yeah, I really just think that networking is just any relationship that any artistic relationship that you create with somebody else. Yeah, and I think that the most important ones to have are really with like your peers. Like I feel like the work that I've been like some of the most proud of has been stuff that I've done with like my colleagues, you know, and that's networking. Like it just is, you know, it's like, doesn't matter if it's your friend, doesn't matter if it's someone your own age, like that is just as important as going on that that meeting with that agent or that producer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you even look at like Harry Potter musical stuff, like all those, that's networking, you know, it's like all those people creating that stuff that became humongous. It's like, I really feel that those are the ways that people really like find themselves as artists and like kind of make it big, whatever that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually been thinking about that a lot recently. How important it is to really just like be kind to other people. And I know a lot of the times people say like always have a positive outlook in any setting, which I think can be like a little bit detrimental just because you're not always going to be positive all the time. However, you can always be a kind, gracious, considerate person all the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is important, yeah, because you know, I'm sure you've even had it before, and like me, who's like doesn't necessarily have like any like leverage necessarily in like the entertainment business. Like I've gotten asked before, like, should I work with this person? Like, what do they like to work with? You know, and be like, a little bit difficult. So like you might want to like carry with caution. But that, you know, so it's like networking really can be with just like your classmates or your friends. So just something to always think about, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And something that I've thought about over the last few years is less about sort of actively pursuing certain relationships that don't feel genuine, you know, and more so focusing on how am I bringing myself into the room in a genuine way, whether or not that like something comes of that, right? But like, how am I with myself? How am I being when I walk into a room, regardless of whether, you know, I think this person can do something for me, right?
Do something for you. Yeah. I totally agree. I think it's just really the baseline is just like, I'm really interested in this person as a human being and as an artist, and I want to work with them. And like, I feel like that's the way to make the most genuine relationships and like long lasting relationships. It's not just like a poof, it's gone. We met for coffee once and now, you know, like I don't mean anything to this person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I feel the same way. I feel like we always put this like giant pressure on networking. And I feel like most people are networking and they don't know it. You know, like just by being in art school a little bit, you are already networking. Your teachers, the directors that you work with, like you're networking already. Like don't put so much pressure on it. Like you're doing it actively. You just like don't even realize it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're definitely right. Have you felt a shift in your own way in which you network specifically during this virtual moment? Because obviously, like, we're not meeting with people. We're not able to grab coffee with someone. We're not, we're not able to see anyone in person or go to casting calls. Have you like noticed a change in the way you network, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the way like in which I've been networking and trying to like keep my creative process, I guess, is kind of more like on a virtual platform. Like there's only like a couple people that I meet in person, and when we are meeting in person, it's mostly like something that we can kind of do online. Like I recently like released a Spotify song with one of my friends. We just did a cover of something. So like very virtual, very online.
Yeah.
I just did another little like Zoom concert kind of thing. I think it's just, yeah, I think it's just the same, but just with like a little bit less, it's just a little bit less constant, maybe, I guess, or it feels a little bit less constant. But I think that, I don't know, just like staying involved in people's lives in any way, even if it's not in an artistic way, still like um, keeps that connection. And even just like giving like a quick little like check-in with someone, even if it's not like a direct, like, hey, like I want to work on something. Cause I feel like also a little bit, we've been putting a lot of pressure on ourselves as artists to be like making stuff and being creative. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like that has just been like making me feel as if making art is like a burden almost, and I just feel like it shouldn't be that way. And yeah, like an obligation. So I mean, I think that it's changed a little bit in the sense that maybe some of the people that you kind of do network with and keep that kind of relationship with, maybe it's not like necessarily immediately artistic in this current climate. But I think that that's okay. I think that we all just kind of need to like give ourselves a break, and like the art will come when it wants to. I know for a fact, like I went through a really, really long period of time where I like felt like completely unmotivated to even just like practice my guitar or anything like that, which isn't necessarily like directly musical theater, but just like being musical, I guess. And it just kind of took a little bit of like reflection and like being with my family to kind of like give me a little bit more of that like fire back, I guess. But I also think that like if you still don't feel it yet, then like that's fine. That's fine, and it'll come. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. Like I just think we need to stop like forcing ourselves to be like directly artistic in this moment, because we are artistic no matter what. That's what I think, that like, yeah, we always are artistic, even if we're not like, singing a song in this exact moment, doing a dance in this exact moment, like performing in this exact moment. We still are artists underneath it all, no matter what we're doing. Even if it's just us working at our survival job, like we're still artists, even though it doesn't feel like that. I keep needing to remind myself that, because I think I forget a lot. It's easier said than done. Like the words are coming out of my mouth, but I'm like, wait, Sam, like you should remember that. You know what I mean?
Sam, it's such a great reminder, because I think, I've been feeling that way too. Like art has felt like such a complicated thing right now. And I think especially for people who were graduating from art school into this moment, it's totally kind of a particular feeling where we came from like 8 to 10 hour days of just straight saturated in theater, right? Like rolling around on the ground, dancing, singing lessons, like ensemble work, you name it, right? For like every day, maybe even on the weekends. Like I remember we were going pretty much 7 days a week.
Totally. Yeah.
And so coming from that, right, into the pandemic and being like, well, now there's nothing happening unless I make it. Like the pressure of that is a little,
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's a really awesome reminder. Okay, so my next question, in the last 5 years, so from now until I guess like when you were beginning university, what have you gotten better at saying no to?
I think that I've gotten a little bit better at saying no to not to hold on, rewind to like not saying no. Not if you're in a
Okay.
dangerous situation, of course. Like, I do not mean that by any means.
Mhm.
But I think, you know, as theater artists, a lot of the time we get like hounded in our classes, like, don't say no, always say yes, you know. And I think that you have to like always take that with a grain of salt if you really feel completely uncomfortable doing something. It's, you know, out of your safety, out of your comfort zone. That is a completely different thing. But I really have been trying to just say yes to things, you know, saying yes to different experiences. Like, even for example, like the acapella thing, I like very quickly, like, one of my friends was like, you should do it, you should do it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? I've like, no, I've never done that. I don't really know anything about it. Like, that's not my vibe. And it ended up being like one of my favorite college experiences. And like, I made like my best friends, for some best friends that I'll like know for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, and I think just like saying yes to projects, no matter how big, no matter how small, trying to not like invalidate yourself and be like, oh, I shouldn't do this because X, Y, and Z. Like, just do it. Just do it. Like, genuinely, if it's not something that is like harmful to you in any way, like physically or mentally, like, what is the worst thing that could come out of it? I
Yeah.
feel like even bad experiences, you still learn something. Like, we've all had horrible, bad, like, theater experiences that we never want to experience again, but you learn something, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like I kind of swapped the question a little bit, but I think that is
No.
something that I feel like I've gotten better at, because you just are, I guess, just less afraid the older that you get, because you're just like, well, literally what could happen? Like, I won't die, even though it feels like I will. I won't,
Yeah, it's so
you
funny that
know?
you say that, because when I'm in a situation where I'm like anxious about something and I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Will I die? And most of the time the answer is no. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Right. Like,
I'm
you
good.
won't die. You won't die in that moment. Maybe after the moment, who knows? But it's, yeah, that's what I feel like. And it's, maybe it's just also like the pandemic jaded, like, we lost the one thing that we had, you know? It's just like,
Yeah.
at this point, it's like, just say yes to everything. Just do it. Just do it. It doesn't matter if it's like stupid, low budget, this, that, whatever. Like, genuinely, in my heart of hearts, I believe no project is too big, no project is too small. Like,
Mm.
everything can better you as an artist, and also like keep you humble and grateful to be doing what you're doing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have experienced, and you can let me know if you've experienced the same thing or something different. But I've
Uh-huh.
experienced that definitely it's become less about the prestige for me and more about like
Yeah.
actually what the thing is. Like, even if it's a tiny,
Yes.
like you were saying, low budget thing, or like a one song submission or whatever it might
Oh,
be, I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, that sounds great. You know?
No, seriously, I know. I feel like almost like part of this is a little bit of a blessing in disguise from us being like, we're NYU Tisch students. Like, I'm above this, I'm above that. Like, you're not, nobody's above anything. We're all just
No.
trying to like make art in the middle of a pandemic where literally the thing that we were studying is gone, you know?
Yeah.
So even if that for you is just like learning a little song on the ukulele, then like that's enough. That's enough. You know what I mean? Just say yes to it, you know? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna film myself playing this song, and like that's gonna be my art. That's what I want to do. Then yes, do it. Don't say no. Don't let yourself not do that. Like, I think that right now we just have to like find the little shreds of happiness, and it's like, even if it's like the dumbest little thing, and but if it genuinely makes you happy, do it. I've been telling everyone that now. Once again, easier said than done, because I feel like sometimes I don't do that for myself. But I feel like whenever I'm giving other people advice, like, that's my first thing that I say. I'm like, if it genuinely makes you happy, do it. It doesn't even matter what it is. It just doesn't,
It
you know, because
literally
it's hard to
doesn't.
find genuine happiness these days.
Yeah.
Not to be like a downer, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
you're so right. And it's making me beam just hearing you talk about this, because it is like even the smallest things that might be like dumb, like who cares?
Right.
Like, we're
Right.
all
Like, dumb.
in
Yeah.
this moment, like, what is dumb anymore? Everything that's dumb is
Right.
now like
Exactly.
valid, because we're in this like no man's land basically.
Right.
Which is
Right.
which
Yeah.
is kind of, I mean, to flip that perspective on its head is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of been like my motto these days,
I like that.
keep reminding myself of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sam, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, this could be personally, this could be professionally, artistically,
Yeah.
any of these, what do you do?
What I do and like kind of have been doing is just like taking a step back in whatever way that means for anyone. Like my taking a step back is literally like calling my mom on the phone and being like, hey, X, Y, and Z is happening to me, blah, 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 just getting it all out. That's
Yeah.
me taking a step back. So I feel like the key to that is finding out your way of taking a step back. For some people, it's writing. For some people, it's literally just like taking a nap and like letting it, wash over you. Think about it when you wake up. Some people, it's talking to a roommate about it. Some people, it's like playing a song. I
Yeah.
think it's just important to like literally define what that means for you, and making sure that it's like a tactic that you can keep using over and over and over again.
Mm.
And I also always remind myself, like what I said at the beginning of our conversation, that I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. Like just keep telling myself I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. Let's take a step back. Whatever is so pressing right now is going to pass. I really think it's also like identifying the problem, that's part of my like taking a step back type of thing. And the
Yeah.
way that I do that, is like by calling my mom or my dad or my sisters, a family member. And it's like when I'm able to like speak what's going on to someone and like communicate that to them, that is like my way of like looking at it and seeing that it's not as big of a hill as I think it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just like finding your individual way of like looking at it from an outside perspective, because when you can look at it as an outside perspective, it doesn't feel so immediate and like crushing.
Right.
But yeah, that's the way that I do that. And then after that, just like kind of what I was saying before, like what's gonna make me happy in this immediate moment. If it's watching like one of my like favorite TikToks, and I'm gonna do it. If it's, like going for a walk, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I think when you were speaking on that, it was just making me think sometimes, I think especially in the pandemic, I was this way before, but specifically now it's heightened a little bit because we're so isolated. But when I have a
Yeah.
feeling, I tend to feel like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. And like, I'm the only one who's experiencing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it
Right.
just
You're like,
feels
it's
so
only me.
crippling. Right. But like, most of the time, that's literally not the case.
Yes, like we are not alone. Like I always, most of the problems that I have, I like go talk to my roommate about it, and she's like, "Yeah, same. Hello,
Yeah.
exactly the same. What did you expect me to say? Like that you were just like feeling that all on your own? Like, no, you're not special.
Yeah.
And sometimes that feeling of feeling not special makes you feel better. You're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not the
You're like,
only one.
oh, you too.
Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So how I want to build on that a little bit. Have you just always known that like the best way for you is to contact family? Like how did that sort of become your go-to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I honestly think that it kind of started in college. It was just kind of like one of those
Yeah.
things. It would be like, I remember freshman year, and they're on California time. I was like up at like 2, but so it wasn't like super, super late for them, definitely late, but they were like still up for whatever reason. I had to do like these things that we did called auto dramas. I don't know. Did you do that
No,
ever?
we
It was
didn't.
like you kind of have to do an auto drama about yourself, and it has to be like something um that literally just like is who you are, but like in an artistic way. And it can be whatever you want to be. And I was freaking out. I literally thought I was gonna die. I really, really did. I'm shocked that I survived this event. Like if you ask anyone who knew me during that time period, I was like, I like hate talking. Funny that I'm saying that because I'm on the show right now, but I like hate describing myself. I hate talking about myself. I hate like trying to say, like, I hate talking about my essence. Like, this is who I am. It's just like something
Yeah.
that I've always found really difficult. Like, definitely got better with age, but as an 18-year-old, I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And I just remember like talking it out with my parents, and I like solved the problem by the end.
Hmm.
So I think after that experience, I kind of realized like my way of handling things is to kind of just talk it out with someone I love. and trust. And I know not everybody has that, and I am very lucky that I do have that support system, but I think that just relates back to that's the way that I found it to be successful for me to take a step back and like look at everything from an outside perspective. Like, what's your way of doing that?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that. Yeah, it can be whatever you feel that you need. Some people just need to literally write it down. Like, they don't need to talk to anybody, you know, or a therapist too if you don't have a family member. Yeah, it's something that I think that I honestly, like developed in school. I like talk to my family all the time. Oh my God. Anytime I'm like walking down the street, I'm like complaining to my parents about something, like my poor parents. Oh my God. Hi, if you're watching this. Oh my God. Yeah. Every time I call them, they're like, are you walking? And I'm like, yeah, what else would I be doing? Like,
You're like, obviously
I'm going to call you if I'm walking.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Sam, we're almost out of time. Crazy, time flies. But I want to get my last question in because I'm interested in your opinion on this. So obviously we've been talking about this. We're all living through this moment of like longing for the days past of performance as we knew it, and sort of trying to embrace the current moment in terms of this virtual world. But what do you see as the future of live performance?
Honestly, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I do think that it will come back, but I think it'll just be like kind of like a slow kind of like trickling versus like a rush. Just because I think everyone is still figuring it out. I see hopefully this summer, you know, distanced and outside things.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by, you know, the winter time, there's like some sort of indoor situation that we can do that's socially distant. I do see masks as being a part of our future for a while, but I do not think that that is a way that should hinder our experience of theater. Because, you know, it is a little bit frustrating, you know, when you see like the Super Bowl and all those people are there and like all that funding can go to that. And it's like, well, where's that funding for theater and for art? And I think that people are really, really craving it and really sad that it's not there and really missing it because it's given people a time to reflect because it's literally non-existent at the moment.
Right.
So yeah, I think it'll be kind of like a slow kind of trickling. And I know a lot of people, a lot of my peers who are seniors right now at in arts programs are doing a lot of like filming and live streaming. I think Tish is doing that this year. So I definitely see that as being the future of theater for a little bit. But I have high hopes that this summer there will start to be more live things. And even if it's just kind of like concert-y sort of things, like get me in it. Get us all in it, right? You know?
Yeah.
I think that it's really cool that we are able to do like Zoom theater in any capacity. Like it's really cool. And I think it's awesome that we now have this platform for when we can't all be together and we know that it still can be successful and productive.
Yeah.
But I really think the masses and the artists and the everyone's are really missing live theater. And at this point, it is kind of like a little bit of a question mark, but it'll be there. It just has to. It can't disappear forever, you know? It's just one of those things that you kind of have to like wait and see. Like not hold your breath. Don't make it like an anxious kind of thing, but like as it does start to open up, think of it as like more of a motivating thing, I guess, you know?
Yeah. With just some faith, trust, and a little pixie dust.
Yes.
It's really where we're at right now.
Yeah, literally. A little bit of faith.
A little bit of faith, yes. Well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the show. It's been about a year since I've seen you, which is crazy.
I know. Literally a year since we did promenade, right? What is it? February?
Insane.
Yeah,
I
pretty
don't
much.
even, yeah, it's about almost a
Oh
year
God.
exactly. For those of
Yeah.
you watching, thanks so much for tuning into this interview. If you enjoyed it, if you want to follow Sam, she's on Instagram at Sam Tullie. There's her handle. And then, of course, her website, www.samanthatullie.com. And give her a follow, give her a shout out. Thanks for tuning in. And Sam, just thanks again for joining me and for
Of
giving us your
course.
insight. Your perspective and your attitude is quite refreshing and very calming. I think
Oh,
you have harnessed a really helpful way of thinking about how to handle this current moment. So thanks for sharing that with us.
yeah. Thanks for having me here. Had a great time. Great time. Great Friday evening.
Yay. All right. Have a good weekend, Sam.
Thanks so much, Kelsey. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, y'all, that concludes another episode of Avenue A. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for spending a bit of your Friday night with us here. I'm so happy to be here and to be spending my time with some of you. I see we have a lot of people in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hi, Grandma. She says, great interview. Amazing. I want to just shout out some people. We have Stefan. Thank you so much for tuning in, Stefan. Tim. Hi, Tim. Dana, my producer, thank you for tuning in. Did I miss anyone else? Yes, Nadine. Hi from Portland. Thanks for tuning in. And Flobo, thank you. I was just on Flobo's podcast today. Thanks so much for being here, Flobo. Dana again. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, all that being said, we will be back next week with another episode of Avenue A. And with no further ado, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.